Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to the Mesa City Council study session for the afternoon of January the 23rd. The first item on our agenda is to review our agenda for tonight's council meeting. I know there were several presentations at last Thursday's study session. I was the only one not present, but I did watch the study session, so thought it was a good discussion of several of the items on the agenda today. But council, any additional questions regarding tonight's agenda? All right, I know, yes, Councilmember Spilsbury.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure on, I don't remember what the number is, 8. So just, I understood that the meeting was had and kind of heard a little bit about the results of that meeting. And so I guess I'm just wondering, and I kind of already asked this question on Thursday, so I just want to clarify and make sure. How do we guarantee, if we can guarantee, that we will be trying our best, the transportation department, to direct that traffic going west, the truck traffic?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor Spilsbury, actually, I think it'd be helpful if we could have transportation come to council and kind of hear how we walk through these. These are very technical. We don't typically make decisions about the street. That's done after the zoning case. But I think it might be helpful for you to hear at least the perspective from our professional traffic engineers.
Yeah, because I understand that isn't contingent on what we're deciding right now, but because that is such a big, part to AT Still's opposition, I just want to know if we have
fair enough. Well, I think we can at least stress how we will be looking at that.
Okay.
Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury, good evening. RJ Zeter with the Transportation Department. Eric Udarian, our Deputy Director for Traffic Engineering, will kind of walk you through, hopefully address the question you might have.
Good evening. So just really quickly, we'll just take an overview of the site so we know what we're talking about. The proposed development is in the green fields here and here. So Sunview, currently cul-de-sacs at the end of, or next to the YMCA. We have Inverness Avenue coming off of Higley Road. Continues to the east here and currently dead ends. So both of these roadways have been built with medians and with the vision that they would connect at some point.
Does the Inverness doesn't go south right there?
Inverness does, so.
Oh, but it dead ends keep going west, you're saying, but then it does.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that road is open.
And if if you go out to the site today, the section of Inverness that runs east-west is a different cross-section, a different width. Than when it turns south here. This turns into more of a local street that's there today. So we've always had a planned connection. This connection really is because Wrecker Road ends at Baseline. It doesn't intersect with the US 60 and continue north. So that this would provide a connection over to Higley Road and to get to the freeway. So I think understanding all the concerns that have been laid out and trying to balance all of that with a city roadway, I think we've really looked at, and we will get in more into the details as we review the engineering plans. But we feel there are ways to be able to minimize heavy truck traffic heading in front of the AT Still campus, heading towards Baseline in that direction with some engineering of the medians.
And this has been done in other locations, I'm assuming, maybe that you've diverted truck traffic, or, I mean, is it pretty common to do that? Is it, you think you can do it, or you're sure you can do it, or?
So the use of medians and to make is probably the wrong word, but to influence traffic to go in a direction we want them to go is quite a common practice. We do it all over the city on our arterial streets. And so I think, our focus really has been on these middle driveways of the development. These are the ones that lead to and from, the truck bays, so that especially on the north side, if you're coming out of this middle driveway, you have to turn right. We'll have a median that that won't allow you to turn left out. And also then on the south side here, there are many driveways along the existing Inverness alignment that trucks, if they're really wanting to go south and towards Baseline, they'll be able to use those driveways to get to Baseline.
What about any traffic coming the south end with the 5 buildings? Any of that traffic that's heading out onto Inverness, is that also going to try to be diverted going west, or is it just mainly, did that not make sense?
No, I just want fully understand which traffic you're talking about.
So from the 5 buildings.
Yes.
I understand there won't be as many trucks probably as the 3 bigger buildings, maybe. Well, I don't actually know. But that traffic coming from the south will also be diverted west? Or is there no way to do both of those?
We think by the location of the truck docks that the more natural direction for trucks to go is to the south, to Inverness, and then come over to Sunview and down to Baseline.
Oh, really?
But to be fair, if the road does go through, it is a public street, so I'm certainly not going to purport, nor ask our staff to say that no trucks, will ever use it, because that's just not practical.
Can you put up a sign that says no truck traffic? Like I've seen that different places.
You can. I mean, it all comes down to enforcement then.
Okay.
I think for truck traffic on these south 5 buildings, if they are wanting to go west, will most likely come out to the westernmost driveway here on Inverness and up Inverness.
North.
And Eric,
that way.
the fact is, even with an option, if you maintain the cul-de-sac, those roads that are going to south to Inverness could still migrate over.
Even if you had cul-de-sacs.
Right, because they're
Yeah.
beyond that point, right?
Okay.
So everything coming on that south end could continue to Baseline, I guess, or Inverness, and then move over to Sunview, Rutland,
Okay.
and come out. I think the most important thing is we don't have, when we want to manage traffic turns, we put the medians in, right? We inserted medians on Mesa Drive to serve that very purpose. So we've
Yeah.
installed medians, many times not at, and that's where we often get pushback is from retail centers, right? We did it on Southern and Stapley. We
Yes.
had a lot of fun with that one because we're trying to manage the turn movements, and of course, some businesses want that access. So it's a balancing act here. I think the point here too is that you can see how Sunview comes up. As it turns, it already has medians in it. Inverness is coming over the top, has medians. So it was intended that this road, as it connected, would continue to have a median treatment going across, which is the most effective way for us to manage.
To allow access, but manage that access.
Manage access where it would happen. So what we're doing here is kind of trying to manage it directly where it would be. Now, there'll be many of opportunities that after council approves this staff will meet with the developer, will continue to evaluate traffic demands, I guess, Eric, and other options. We know we have other users, the YMCA, that's concerned about the traffic flows here too. So, I mean, our commitment is to apply the same principles that we do across the entire city, where we have arterials. We have other academic institutions that have arterials going by there, and we've been able, and we can manage those also.
And just so to confirm also, the idea of the 2 cul-de-sacs, transportation was not okay with that, and that won't be an option?
We do not support that option.
Yeah, you don't
I mean,
support
to
that.
me, we've done some historical research which supports the notion that the road was intended to go through. Again, with Record not having a connection at the 60, this design was intended to encourage traffic to move west towards Higley to access the 60. Again, it's a public street, right? And if it connects, we're not saying that no trucks will ever be on it. But with design, we think we can encourage the bulk of the heavier traffic to move west towards Higley.
And I think RJ said something important. Go back to the first slide. If the intent of we assume most of the intention of this traffic will be to get out onto the 60. And if you look from here, the easiest access to that is to get over to Higley and up to the 60, and that's what it's built for. And I think, if nothing else, just the design of the existing Inverness east of Higley will encourage that truck traffic that'll be the easiest way for them to go,
Especially
right?
with the curve at the
Right.
intersection, it's actually quite a bit further over to turn right there. Okay. Okay, so I guess that answers that there's probably not a guarantee, but everything you can do will happen to,
I don't think we're going to say there'll never be a
Yeah.
truck that'll
Right.
turn that way, but
Right.
we're going to, by design, try to encourage and make that easier and facilitate to go away.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any other questions for the traffic department on this zoning case? I saw Dr. Cloud from HC Still earlier. Dr. Cloud, did you make it downstairs? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that you were here, and I'm sure we can continue this discussion upstairs, but I'm glad you were here to hear that. All right, council, any other questions on agenda item 8? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Councilmember Spilsbury.
Why is that? Okay. I don't think this was mentioned in our discussion on Thursday, but 6B with Sweetwater. Was there a history of how long that's been for sale, or if anyone else has tried to develop it, or anything like that? I'm just thinking of some emails I've received today, so I just wanted to get some clarification on that. Maybe you can answer.
Thank you, Councilman. I can't answer them all, but we do have the property owners here.
Okay.
If you'd like them to speak, Mr.
Well,
Bailey.
The city actually owned it for many
Well,
years.
yeah, I was going to say, the city purchased it.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, how far back do you
How
want
far back do you want to
Yeah.
go? Because we owned it for many, many
I
years.
think the emails mentioned to last 15 years, so,
Before my time, so it's even going further than that. The city owned it and then,
I was on the city council when we made the decision to purchase this property back in the 96 to 2000 category. And the reason was because it's the Chrisman Homestead. It's historically significant. This is the reason they did the environmental impact statement for the 202 freeway, and the 202 freeway takes a bend right here. Why is that? Because this is a historically significant area, and the pioneer heritage of Mesa, Arizona is tied to that piece of property. So the city acquired it with the idea that it would be set aside for something just to be respectful of this historical significance of that piece of property. Later, it was decided by this council that, no, we want to divest ourselves of all property. We want to get rid of all the real estate we own. So it was sold to the investors that now, for the last 20 years, have been trying to develop it. It's very challenging. I mean, it's difficult to develop this property because it's, you know, the topography of it, you know, the distance from the freeway to the street access, and then Salt River Project has strong feelings about coming in from other directions, so.
and it's not a historical piece anymore, right? Like, they took off the historical landmark?
The
or
Mesa
what?
Historic Committee.
Designation, yeah.
Took it off,
Designation.
and they kind of realized that the structures that were there were taken down, and so it's difficult to justify it as a historical property now.
And so then have there been any other interests in it, or developments, or single-family homes, or anything like that in this last 15 years? Or
I
was
can't
it for
answer all
sale?
that, but I do know that before, there was a development for an RV park potentially, and a contractor's yard.
Okay.
And both of those were turned down. So consequently, it's been sitting vacant for, I don't know how many years, but if we'd like Mr. Bailey to come
right,
forward.
and it took a while for the current property owners, they owned, you know, there was the ADOT portion, so and I think the ADOT sale of that property has only been in the last 7 years. So it's taken a while to assemble all the property too. It's not like it's just been, yeah, well, visually, it looks like it's just been sitting there. There's been more than one property owner. ADOT's owned a part of it, the city owned a part of it, so the current owners had to assemble all of that together.
And actually, the city did own a portion too, some easement resolutions there. There were some encumbrances. So the parcels were all assembled into the parcel it is today.
Okay. And then I guess maybe I should have asked transportation while they were up here, sorry. There was also a claim in one of the emails that traffic circles are more dangerous, and I thought that that would be opposite, that they were actually safer. So could we just get some clarification on that as well?
Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury, members of the council, Eric can get more technical, but we've had several discussions with the Arizona Department of Transportation. The location of the proposed roundabout is actually within ADOT right-of-way. So ADOT has to approve any permit submissions for the roundabout. Although in our collective discussions, we feel that the roundabout is a safer situation that would absent the roundabout, it would have to be a right-in, right-out going into the property down the hill. And the concern we expressed from city staff is that the bulk of the traffic exiting the property would likely be going west on the 202, which would mean they would have to take a right turn out onto McDowell and then very quickly do a U-turn at Lehigh Road to come back west. So plans have to be submitted that both ADOT and the city will take a look at, but we are confident that there is enough room and with design that the trucks and trailers can be properly accommodated. Is that fair?
It is, and from a safety standpoint, the types of crashes that occur in roundabouts are a lot less severe. So if you think about a lot of the majority of crashes at traffic signals are left turn crashes where people pull out and there's oncoming traffic, and those tend to be the most severe types of crashes that involve, major injuries and possibly even fatalities. At roundabouts, you're only making right turns. You're supposed to be slowed down to, 15 to 20 miles an hour. So the crashes that do occur in roundabouts are much less severe. They tend to be, in national research, less frequent also. They are safer intersections.
Okay, that was what I thought, but so I wanted to put that on public record that they, but studies have shown that they're safer. I mean, would you go so far as to say that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you.
So to follow up, why don't you talk about the design standards for the roundabouts? Because there are certain design standards that ADOT requires for larger vehicular traffic. And there's some examples of that throughout.
Mayor, Councilmember Freeman, one of the things we talked about was the potential of mountable curbs on the roundabout, the actual curbing, so that if a truck trailer or a vehicle, were to, go off, it wouldn't be what we would call a vertical or a barrier curb where it's, up and down. Eric, I don't know, we have to see the detailed designs because we've really only seen concepts. But to your point, yes, I think there are things that can be done from a design standpoint that will allow the roundabouts to be safely maneuvered.
Thank you. Any more
I
questions?
think ADOT was suggesting not a standard roundabout, but a different, I forget the name of the particular style of roundabout, but it's more conducive to trailer hauling and, did I understand that correctly?
Mayor, the design that will happen will be able to accommodate, trailers, heavy truck traffic. This is an on-ramp to the freeway, so all those movements will have to be accommodated through the roundabout. There will be 2 lanes through the roundabout, so especially trucks is typical throughout the country, throughout the state to use both lanes as they're going through the roundabout.
Okay, thank you. I know this is 6A and, or 6B is just on the agenda. It's on the consent agenda for introduction. I think we're expecting there to be folks come to pull this off the consent agenda, but Mr. Freeman, do you want to just take it off?
Let's just take it off.
Okay. So you got that, Kevin, 6B will be off the consent agenda. All right, council, other questions on tonight's agenda? Mr. Brady, any additional staff presentations or anything?
No, I think council has the information on the appeal, the site
Yes.
plan. We talked about that last time too. So I think we have some additions to make sure that's part of the record and the motion to be clear about additional conditions that I think the city staff at this time is recommending. But other than that, I think
Yeah.
we've covered everything.
Yeah, I think we're aware of that. The staff's recommendation is to add an additional condition to the zoning case, right? All right, thank you. If there's nothing else for tonight's council meeting, next item on our agenda is current events and conferences attended. Council members have anything you'd like to share with us?
I would, thank
Mr.
you,
Freeman.
Mayor. I'm getting the nod from Councilmember Duff. No, we had the Lehigh Sports Park opening, and that was a really great event. So we had a lot of our local Lehigh area, our young men playing rugby, a lot of team members there. as well as soccer, and they even had a cornhole tournament, which was new to me. So it's a great addition to the area, green space and buffer. So we look forward to seeing the outcome of that, the traffic and all the other components. It's really neat because you can also have food trucks there for your events, and so you can stay and play, let's put it that way, stay and play and eat.
And turn right on your way out.
Yep, turn right. Huh? Yeah, there's cameras on fields 1 and 2, and council members Spilsbury and Duff were there to support, so thank you.
Great. Councilmember Spilsbury.
A bunch of us attended the Mesa Arts Center Heart and Soul Gala on Saturday night. Their fundraiser was Smokey Robinson. I've never seen an 82-year-old move like that. You had to be there, right? Anyways, it was really, really fun, so I wanted to thank Mesa Arts Center for that.
Great. Heard great things about it. Anything else?
I'll add on that right before this meeting, I came from a Mesa Chamber of Commerce presentation with Mike Perna, and he's talking about youth and workforce development and education. It was inspiring and very insightful. I think there's a lot of good takeaways. I wasn't able to complete that, but I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce bringing that forward in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? I was out of town last week. I appreciate, so I apologize for, thank you for excusing me from the meeting last Thursday. I promise you I did watch all of it. I thought it was a great meeting, but I was at the annual meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'm anxious to talk about a lot of the things that we talked about last week in Washington, D.C. As it happens, I now serve as the chairman of 3 different things related to this conference. I'm the chair of the Mayor's Alliance to End Childhood Hunger. We had a great event related to that, and I think we're going to be able to connect Mesa to that cause in a very significant way. We already are. On that topic, for example, Arizona Brain Food in March will be celebrating their 1 millionth backpack that they've sent home to families, that experience food insecurity over the weekend. So proud that Mesa is prominent in that national effort. I also am the chair of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Immigration Reform Task Force and chaired meetings last week with all the mayors and the White House and HUD on that. And I think that obviously as a border state, we are impacted by this issue tremendously. And we've got a lot of dreamers in Mesa. We've got a lot of a lot of our nonprofits and church groups are called upon to respond when there's a surge at the border of migration. So I think it's important, and I'm glad that I can play a role in that issue. And then finally, I'm the co-chair of the Mayors and CEOs for Housing Organization, and we all know the importance of homelessness and the critical role that we have to play regionally and nationally on that issue. So grateful to have the opportunity to engage on those issues. And I think as a result of that, I've gotten some feedback that people saw yesterday's Face the Nation, where I had the opportunity to be one of the four mayors on a panel there and talk about those issues. So.
Make Mesa look really good.
Well, I'm glad that Mesa was included. I thought it was great because I was there with the mayors of New Orleans and Atlanta and Miami, and the moderator went out of her way to say, the biggest of these 4 cities is Mesa, Arizona. And so I thought that was, yeah.
And the safest.
Yeah, that's right. And she said this Mesa is one of the safest cities in the United States. So I think we might have to send her a check, for the great commercial she did for the city of Mesa. So thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to report on that, Council? Mr. Brady, what does our schedule of future meetings look like?
So, Mayor, we don't have an upcoming council meeting next Monday, so we'll give you a little break, and we will not have a study session on the 26th. So.
All right. So for those paying attention, our January, we didn't go first and third Monday because of other conflicts. In February, we're doing the same thing. We're not going first and third, we're going second and fourth because of conflicts related to the state of the city and other things. So just FYI, those things got tweaked a little bit. All right, Council, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury and Mr. Summers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, we are adjourned. We will